Okay, so we did this whole lesson on alert and being attentive. And I have one child that, trust me, he is not attentive. It's very difficult for him to stay focused. And so he set his goal, he said, I will keep my eyes on my teacher. I will listen to everything she says in class. When I play basketball, I will watch the ball. And really, he'd stand on the basketball court and the game is going on around him and he is out there daydreaming. I mean, you know, everything is just going on and he's just in his own world. So it was amazing. That week, his teacher calls me after 2 days. I think it was Wednesday morning. She calls me. She goes, okay, I do not know what is going on with Jonathan, but he is following me. He is listening to me. He is doing everything I ask. And I'm like, woo-woo, you know, it's the character class. So anyway, so of course when he came home from school, I said, you know what, you're not going to believe it. I got a call from your teacher. Why do you think she'd be calling me? Oh no, what'd I do? Did I do something wrong? I was like, she called to say how attentive and how alert you've been in class. And he was like, yeah, you know. And honestly, that was a turning point for him. It was a big deal, trust me. Now my same son, my other son was in the class and he was 19 at the time, preparing to go on a mission and he was working. And so his I will statements were, I will be attentive to my boss when he speaks to me. I will be alert and, you know, perceptive to the needs of the customers as they're in the store, you know. So everyone will have different I will statements. But at the end of the lesson, I always say, will you just take a minute and share your I will statements, just so we know what you're working on. And then once you as a mom know what each of the children are doing, you try to praise them for the progress you're seeing in that area. And trust me, when you praise someone and you're grateful for someone for what they're doing, they want to do more of it. It's just natural to just want to do more, to become that.
Can you prepare a binder for each of your family members?
I do.
Okay.
So each family member, and I also put our family picture right here, you know. So anyway, great question. Thank you so much.
So even your small children have their own binder?
Everyone has their own character binder. And it's so great because really at the end of the year, it's so fun to look back and look at the I will statements. And it's so fun to just sit down with them and just go, wow, look how far you've come this year, you know? And then when you go into it, like we do the program year after year after year, but it's so great because each year you feel like you're progressing. You're becoming more knowledgeable or just more aware of those. And it's a wonderful thing. Yes?
Your children seem so willing to participate.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I have a child that'll probably go, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
what,
yeah.
She definitely will say it.
What?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting
Yeah.
here, my mind's reeling, you know, I'm thinking,
Yeah. And honestly, I had a couple children like that too. And really,
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's tough. You know, the most important thing really is to praise them for the teaching that they get them to do one lesson and to praise them for what they've done and choose a lesson where she is so strong, where you've thought up in your mind of different things she's done in that area that you can bring up during the lesson. Trust me, the more you praise and the more you encourage, honestly, the attitude, it fades away. It really does. I had a couple children. Yeah. And okay, and here's the other suggestion I would have for you, okay?
Okay.
Really, because I was dealing with 2 teenagers at the time that were not excited about this program, but were willing to give it a try, okay? So what I did is I called my relatives. I've got a brother and sister-in-law. They are wonderful, wonderful people. Their children kind of aged up with ours. And I said, hey, how would it be if we do it at your home one Sunday, at our home the next Sunday? So the way it works is like we will fix the meal, we have dinner together, and it's really, we make it special. I mean, we have a nice dessert, we have the nice meal, and all the cousins are together. And what we have found is they behave better, they respond better, they're more willing to participate. And so when we do our little 20-minute discussion, we always have an opening prayer, an opening song, you know, to invite the Spirit to be with us. And then we go into the 20-minute lesson. And I will be honest with you, very often our lessons end up being 40 minutes. But it's not because of the parents. It really is the kids. They start talking and getting off on things, and it's great with me. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, I really like it. And so really, try it, and don't get discouraged. Really, there were nights where I would go to bed just going, that was the worst lesson ever, you know? And honestly, there was contention. It was not a happy experience. But I always would think back to my husband and what he would say to me, because we were very consistent. Every Monday night, family home evening, we did it, and there were nights where I would just go to bed going, that was the worst lesson ever, the worst evening together. And Bill would say, wait, everything's good. He said, we get a point for trying and for being obedient, and so we're good. And so, you know, you got to just pat yourself on the back. Okay, I gave the lesson, I worked with the kids. It really didn't make much of a difference, or I don't think it made much of a difference, but you know what? You were obedient, you did it, you stayed on track, and you're moving on to the next character trait the next week, you know? And that's family life. You have to just go, okay, that's how it is this week, and just know. Okay, so then throughout the week, what I always did was, as I was driving the kids to baseball games or whatever, I'd just say, hey, did you notice anyone today being compassionate? Were you compassionate in any way today? And it was just a discussion. As we'd sit down to dinner, I would just ask that question. Anyone notice anyone compassionate? And they knew that I was going to ask it, so they were more, you know, perceptive during the day, knowing that that's probably what we would discuss. So it's so easy to implement it. It's the lesson on Sunday, and throughout the week, just talk about people who are compassionate, or even if you're sitting down watching a TV show and you notice someone that is not compassionate, you know, you could say, wow, that is the opposite of being compassionate, you know. But again, it's just raising the awareness level of all the family members and helping them learn about the character trait and hopefully implement it in their lives. Okay, any questions about that?
Question.
Lauren.
So do you tie that in to family home evening at all? Or
Yes,
do you have to
some
do it totally
families
separate?
do.
Or
Yes.
like there's a lot of lessons that have those same kind of traits and
Right,
characteristics.
sure. And I know many families who just, that was their family home evening lesson for the week. It was this, and that's what their focus was.
That's easy, that's easy.
Yeah, and you know what, can I tell you something? That's another way to get your teenagers to buy into it. Say, hey, this is our family home evening, you know, and they're good with that. I mean, you already have family home evening, and if this is going to take its place, I mean, it's a good thing. So, great question, thank you.
You did both?
You know what, one year we did both, one year we did this totally.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Did you
we've
have
done it both
treats?
ways.
Did you have treats for this too? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not a sugar person.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me,
Okay.
boy, it's like, if there's sugar, it has
Okay.
to be a big deal. So
Okay.
this is a big deal, you know? Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's talk for just a couple of minutes. We're almost finished. Let's talk just a couple of minutes about disciplining children. I just think it's so important that we spend a couple of minutes on this. Just a couple of things to remember. If you are angry, if your children have done something and you are angry, it is not the best time to deal with whatever's just happened. Like, I've taken just so many parenting classes, and this is one thing that's just reinforced over and over again. It's so important that you be calm and that you have the spirit when you're working with your children. So something I try to remember sometimes, I mean, if a child is home late at night, we have consequences in place, but I just will welcome the child home and say, oh, I'm so grateful you're home, I was worried about you, and I deal with it the next day. Because inside, I'm fuming that they walked in late, you know, and I just know it's better to deal with it, you know, another time. If it's something really serious that they've done, it's always so important that you take the child one-on-one. You don't have those conversations in front of the whole family. It's a one-on-one conversation. Very often, I will just take my children into the office and I'll say, let's have a prayer. And as soon as I say, let's have a prayer, they know that there's going to be a serious discussion. So they kind of gear up for it, you know. But the other thing that I think is really important as we discipline our children is that we just mention whatever it is that they've done wrong. And we say, can you tell me why you did this? Try to get their perspective. What were they thinking? What was the intent of their heart? You know, where are they coming from? And try to listen with love. I just find, at least in my family, that I get so much further with my children if I'm very calm and loving. And at the end of the conversation, I say, well, okay, so this rule was broken, so there's a consequence. And if a consequence is not in place, very often I'll say, what do you think the consequence should be for what's taken place? And what I've found is my children are much harder on themselves than I am on them, you know? So I let them come up with a consequence usually because, but in most things, believe me, there are consequences in place, you know?